Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Windows on the World. This is the second night in a run that we've actually got a show at 10 o'clock. And I think it's quite a good time to do them, actually. I did a show earlier on, windowsontheworld.net, which is our usual live Sunday show, which goes out on a platform called Spreaker, which then sends it to YouTube. It used to send it to BitChute, but doesn't anymore. I'm looking for other platforms to go on, and I'm finding that I'm still looking. So if anybody's got any suggestions out there, put them into chat. I'm looking at Odyssey and Library at the moment. I haven't even managed to complete the form at this end, so I might be on there next week. But we did a great show last night with Araya Soma, who wrote the music for our forthcoming film, The Heretics of London, The Smithfield Martyrs. Go back in the archive, have a look at that, and check out the trailer stroke sampler for the film. The film will be out soon. You can support this show and the film on Patreon. I know it's a globalist platform, but I didn't really have much choice at the time. There might be other ones which are better. Again, if you can find one, do let me know. And you can also help the show out through the website, because we do depend on the listener. And we have some great people listening to the show, and have fantastic information and a great network of people who are actually getting on with things and forming their own local groups. Not, of course, the big communitarian, big society, hive mind groups, which are trying to encompass everything into the new global system, the new biosecurity health system, the new communitarian system, the new technocratic system. Yeah, they're all the same. Well, people actually getting things together locally is what I've been talking about, and that's very, very important. But tonight, this particular show, we're going to be looking at a little bit of a comedic UK perspective, and of course, a broader picture from Jerry Marzinski in the United States. And Jerry is a psychiatric practitioner, now retired. We've done many shows. We're going to be talking about a subject slightly different than the ones we usually speak about with Jerry, which is the influence of negative entities. You can see that show, Negative Entities, the Presence of Other Worlds, in the archive, and several more. And people who are affected by negative emotions, negative voices, negative entities, and at the very worst, kind of demonic possession. We talk about all that stuff because it's very real. And in a way, haven't you found that the people who are walking around wearing masks are looking at you resentfully if you don't wear one? They seem to be getting slightly possessed. And well, it's not funny, really. But the mask wearing thing is all about compliance, and it's a test of your compliance. So we're going to be talking a bit about that. We're going to be talking a bit about what's happening in the UK first with Martin Houston, who I've known for quite some time, now residing in the Isle of Man, and also a host of his own radio show. So I'm going to bring in Martin first of all, and then Jerry. So Martin, hi.
Hi. How are you all doing out there? So yes, I live on the sunny Isle of Man, which up to a couple of weeks ago had the dubious honour of being just about the only place in the world that didn't have a lockdown. We had 6 months of pretty much complete normality, now completely ruined by a supposed circuit breaker lockdown because of these new strains of COVID. It was first it was the British strain, now we've got a Brazilian strain. Is there any truth to any of this new strain business? How do they know it's a new strain?
Well, we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about it because we've got no reference. And also, of course, I think you know this more than anyone, Martin, that COVID-19 is a series of symptoms, and it is an illness caused by SARS-CoV-2, which was discovered by the Center for Disease Control's Special Investigations Group in Wuhan. And we did a show last week all about how the World Health Organization steers these agendas. In other words, countries who do not comply will be demonized. Yeah. In fact, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about it on the level of countries or people. It still works the same in this system. So people get demonized if they don't wear a mask, and countries get demonized if they don't declare a pandemic. It's very, very simple, nothing to it. But that is really where we are with it. And we've looked into it vastly, I would say, over the past 9 months. And there's not much else to say about it, apart from we are still looking for the evidence that COVID-19, the disease caused by SARS-CoV-2, actually exists in reality and has been isolated as a virus.
And it's not just the flu.
Evidence. It's not, well, it's being included with the flu, isn't it? Because even a relative of mine who's not that skeptical said, I'm looking for the figures that separate the flu from COVID-19. I can't now find them. Of course, you can't find them because they decided to club it all together. But it doesn't matter whether it's the Office for National Statistics or the government steering teams or the media. We don't get any accurate information. And when we look for accurate information, we tend to find that there aren't really any more deaths than usual.
Absolutely
well, that's
not.
a very controversial thing to say, you see.
Yes.
And
all over the world, it's the same. Of course, the death rate's going up a bit now because of all the missed cancer appointments and the suicides and all the other bad effects from a year of completely senseless lockdowns. But they're not deaths from COVID. And no, we have this new surge, this second wave, just the time when the NHS is always going to be busy because it's winter. If you look back at newspaper headlines from last year, year before last, it's always saying the NHS is at breaking point because they can't cope with all these extra patients because it's winter. So what's so different about this year? And now they're blaming COVID.
Well, it's interesting because in Liverpool, before they actually announced that they were going to have a lockdown there was 251 people in hospital. And that was out of nearly 1,500 beds. When the PCR test was enforced in the hospital, we have to remember that if you decline the PCR test in hospital, you go down as COVID positive, which is just a minor detail, but I think an important one.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is that as soon as they start the testing with the PCR, it goes through the roof. Now, there's an important point I wanted to make here, because if you pay for a PCR test to go on an aeroplane, there's very little chance it's going to be positive because you're paying them to be negative. Whereas if you go to a government facility, then it's in their interest to sneak in as many positives as possible. And with cycles at 36%, even according to Dr. Fauci, it's not reliable at all. In fact, you'll find a bit of what you're looking for.
Well, the thing is, if there is any rate of false positives at all, if you do more tests, you get more cases because no matter how small a number is, if you start multiplying with a larger and larger number, the resulting number itself gets larger and larger. Therefore, you see the supposed pandemic growing.
Oh, Martin, that's just one of your tinfoil hat conspiracy theories.
It's basic mathematics, but they don't seem to like things like basic mathematics, do they?
Well, not really, not in the post-truth world. It's all about emotion and belief. And this is actually where I wouldn't say you came unstuck the other day, but your shopping trip got a little bit out of hand, didn't it? Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, I was shopping in Tesco. I chose to use my own mask rather than buying one of these ones that is just adding to the profits of all this COVID scam. I have a anonymous mask I've had for many years, served me well through the Occupy movement. And I wrote a message on the front of it. COVID-19 is a scam. Just about all the room there was to write, rather than long erudite pieces on where you should go and all that. And I was just busy minding my own business, shopping in the Tesco's in Douglas. And the manager came up to me and said they wanted me to leave. He didn't want me to pay for my shopping. He just wanted me to leave.
I saw the interaction, and it was a sign of overreaction, intolerance, and sheer stupidity.
Yeah.
Because what it could have said was something along the lines of, "Excuse me, sir, could you remove that mask because it could upset some of the customers, and it's part of our general policy that people do not enter the store with full face masks on because they might be here to rob the place or attack the customers." But he didn't say that, did he?
No, he just said the mask offended him. So
Yes.
I'm not allowed to eat because he's offended.
Well, I would say that your actions were humorous, not very provocative, and should have been handled in the light-hearted manner in which you intended them. But the problem is with these virtue signaling, virtue creating numpties is that they overreact to everything. And one thing they all have in common is they don't have any sense of humor, in my experience. Is that in your experience too?
Oh, yes. And the really, really strange part of this is that I was in Tesco's. They didn't ask my name. I wasn't allowed to pay for my shopping. So there's no record of card or anything. I was masked the whole time. So I left. And then about 10:10 last night, I got a knock on the door. The police were there. How did the police know it was me?
Well, I think you'd better explain how they might have found out it was you, Martin.
Yes, because I have a video of this, which I've been sharing, because really people need to be aware that this is just not on, that you can be denied access for trying to tell people the truth about COVID. I was wearing a face mask. I was complying with what the shop wanted me to do.
Actually, sir, we do not recommend people wear face masks. We recommend them to wear face coverings. Small point, Martin, but an important one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
mask is the covering.
It's quite interesting that you're being a subversive on the Isle of Man. Are there any more subversives on the Isle of Man?
A few. It's only a small population here.
Yeah.
There are various things happening, so I can't really speak about until they do happen. So
that's the way. We have to keep anything we're doing off social media, because those that put everything on social media are either very stupid or they have nothing to hide. And who hasn't got something to hide? You know, I mean, it's a natural reaction, isn't it? I mean, when people come into your house, a lot of people start tidying up, don't they? Because they don't want stuff left around. So it all makes sense, you know. I mean, you've got to actually, you know, you have a public face and a private face. And I think that's important right now. We've been talking about that with a lot of people, because if you've got small groups and you're doing something locally, there are walls with ears all around you. And it doesn't matter whether it's your next door neighbor or someone listening to you through the internet, because everyone's listening through the internet, aren't they? So the point is that I put everything about myself on the internet, but I don't tell people if I'm planning something or going somewhere. You know, I mean, these things we can't afford to do anymore because we're in a totalitarian dystopian nightmare. You know.
Oh, they'd say you were overreacting, Mark, wouldn't they? That, it's looking less and less like that all the time, isn't it?
That's right. Well, it is fascinating. And what I was going to talk to you about, remember that venue that you went to where we kind of met up, T Chances in Tottenham? That was taken over by change agents. And it took us 2 years to get that back, because I helped the people who ran the place, because they got kicked out of their own venue. And the show I did previous to this was all about that, all about change agents taking over the narrative of public opinion, and all these empty shops that we're seeing all around us are going to be taken over. And some of them are going to be community projects. So you're going to get even more of this rubbish rammed down your neck, because this is not going to stop. So my view is that we have to take back our rights through community leaders. We have to appoint our own community leaders. And those community leaders are not the community leaders that are being imposed from above. They're the ones coming from the ground up, the real grassroots, not the fake grassroots, the real one.
Yeah, you've always got to watch for infiltrators. That's always going to be the way they're going to try and disrupt things at whatever level they can get away with. If it's just going to disrupt their plan, they don't. You want you to do it. They'll try anything.
Yeah. Before we bring Jerry in, I think you should just round up what the police said to you, because I don't know whether we actually covered that. What did he actually say to you?
Well, the police asked me if I was in Tesco in Douglas, and I said yes, I was shopping. And then I told them about the how the manager forced me to leave because I was wearing a face covering that upset him. And he said, no, we're just here to give you a formal caution about not socially distancing.
But there's no evidence that was the case.
Yeah.
So why would they even say that?
Yeah, because it's an excuse. It's the only thing they could think of saying, because they didn't want to get into a debate as to whether COVID-19 was a con or not. They just don't want to go there, do they?
No, this is an interesting point, because in a way it shows you that the police don't know what they're doing. Because if you think about it, what they could have said to get themselves off the hook would be that we've had a complaint from the store manager and he's said this about you and that you had a mask on. The reason we're here is because people could have been alarmed or distressed, and he was obviously distressed. The fact that you were wearing a mask, he might have thought you were trying to rob the place, because I have a rather humorous example I could bring to light. About 20 years ago, I had a friend who had an entertainment agency, and to earn a few quid, we used to dress up as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Right? I was Michelangelo, actually. My friend was Donatello, the one who had the agency. So we'd turn up at these little events and we'd be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Well, he actually said, I've got a great job for you, Mark, on the Isle of Dogs. It's a kids' party. And all you have to do is turn up as the turtle, give the kids the presents. I thought, that's easy enough. So went down the Isle of Dogs. I changed in a pub there because I didn't want the kids to see me coming in and see, I recognise him through that mask, you know. I didn't want to ruin it for him. I was very conscientious. So what I actually did was I changed in the pub and I left all my clothes in the pub. And they said, come back, have a pint later on. So I went down the street and he'd sent me to the wrong house. So I banged on the door of this house, and a really strange looking fellow with many scars on his face opened the door on a chain like this, looking out, and then slammed the door. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? So I go back to the pub, because it was the days before mobile phones. I go back to the pub. I phone up my friend who's the agent. He said, oh, it's number 20. It's not number 40. So as I'm going down the road, I've got no peripheral vision, obviously, because I've got this mask on. I can't see anything beyond here. And I heard a police car go past. So I get to the house, the right house, and all of a sudden I'm thrown against the wall, and two coppers are looking at me straight in front of I'm looking through them like that. And there's two coppers in front of me, pushing me against the wall. And I said, what's up? And he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to a party at number 20. And he said, we've come down here 100 miles an hour. There's a fella who's phoned us up, said there's someone's trying to break into his house with a mask on. He said, I think you should go and apologise to him because he's very distressed. And I think this fella might have been some kind of ex-gangster and thought he was going to get blown away with a sawn-off shotgun with someone, or, you know, maybe even worse, with a mask on, as in these sort of gangster movies, you know. Yeah. Where they turn up as a comedy cartoon character and blow your head off. So I was probably quite lucky to survive that. But the police were actually okay about it. And they did try not to laugh. They were quite professional. But what I would have said was something along those lines. Well, if you've got a mask on in a shop, they could think that you're trying to rob the shop, you see. You know what I mean? But this is what I mean. It's basic kind of diplomacy. And there doesn't seem to be any around, does there?
No. Well, I've got something that is less likely to cause that problem.
Go on.
Also, not bad for you in any way.
Yeah, that's
paper,
good.
Laminate, and a message, whatever message you want.
Yeah, you could put basically a different fact on every week, couldn't you? Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
How can they object to that?
Well, you couldn't really, I suppose.
No. So that's
I mean,
what
but
I'm going to try
you could
next.
get more cryptic with it. You could get more cryptic as you go along. You know, what is the Great Reset?
Yeah.
You know, we could start actually really working on this.
So this is a an idea I give to the world. Easily make those. You can either use it as a visor on its own right, or just stick it on a one of these visors with a proper headband if you want to go to the trouble of buying one of those. But it's very comfortable to wear, and it doesn't restrict your oxygen intake like the face nappies do. It doesn't harbour bacteria like the face nappies do. You can easily wipe it clean.
It could be the future. And I suppose we could try welding masks, things like that, you know.
Yeah.
I'd try different ones, you know. That'd be great. So I'm going to bring in Jerry now because we've kept him waiting for too long. Jerry, hi. Can you hear us, Jerry?
Hey, can you hear us?
Well, I can hear you clear, Martin. I still can't hear anything Mark's saying. It's all jumbled and unintelligible.
We've got a very strange technical problem here, in that I can hear both the others perfectly clearly, but Jerry can't hear Mark.
We've had this trouble before, Jerry, and it may be something at my end. I have very strange things happening. I try not to get paranoid. I'm not going to say I'm a targeted individual.
Yeah, he says don't get paranoid. He's not a targeted individual, he thinks.
Well, Martin, you're going to have to pass along anything he says.
Okay.
I can't hear nothing.
Okay.
Okay. So, Martin, could you ask Jerry to introduce himself, please?
Jerry, can you introduce yourself, please?
Well, I'm Jerry Marzinski. Live in Tucson, Arizona. And been watching closely everything that's going on over here, and it's just popping. I mean, it's just popping.
Yeah, tonight I think we're going to be talking about what's happening in the United States.
There you go. I can hear you now.
Great. Okay.
Did you do something? You fixed it?
No, I just dropped out of the stream, then dropped back in again.
Well, whatever you did, fixed it.
Good.
Oh, that's great. Excellent.
That'll make the show a little bit less stilted then, won't it?
We're all on the same page. Fantastic. So, yes, Jerry usually comes on and talks about the negative entities, and you can see our shows on that. Go back into the archive. Tonight, we're going to be doing something different. Jerry's a retired psychiatric practitioner, 35 years experience, also a pilot and a scuba diver, amongst many other things. And, of course, a true American. And that's very important these days. So, Jerry, you're going to give us some updates on what's happening in the States, because we're getting bits of stuff filtering over here. We know that there is a big situation happening, but would you like to tell the listener a little bit more about what's going on from your perspective?
Well, we're being blocked totally. Virtually all social media is deplatforming all the digital soldiers. They're throwing them off. They're giving them warnings. They're suspending them for weeks. President Trump at this point has been cut off all social media. He can't speak to the people through Twitter or anything else. They've completely shut him down. And if they can do that to the president of the United States, you guys are next. So
that's absolutely true, Jerry. It's a really astonishing situation.
Lost you again.
Really? Okay, I'll bring Martin back. Oh, Martin, you're on the other side this time.
Oh,
click that button. Whatever you clicked before, click it a few times.
Well, I'll try and leave this.
Yeah, he's trying to leave the stream. See if that'll help.
Okay.
Is that better? Can you hear him?
No, you're still breaking up.
Okay, all right then, Martin. You'll have to stay as the interpreter.
Okay.
Because maybe I should have stayed in
English to American.
That's right. Okay. So Martin, yes,
you're good.
Yeah, back again.
Yeah,
fantastic. It must be some kind of ether problem. It's all in the ether, in the Ethernet. So, as far as the National Guard and all this stuff we're hearing, Jerry, how does that stand?
25, what is it? 25,000 National Guard armed
Wow.
and surrounding the Capitol Hill. They have orders to shoot to kill. If anybody attempts to go over those barricades, and they did shoot one woman a couple hours ago. So Antifa is out there, trying to kick up some crap. There's troops moving all over the country. They showed one guy came on, a truck driver showed a video from a truck stop in Midland, Texas, where National Guard troops were moving toward into Texas. There's troops moved from Arizona into California. There's a fella called Monkey Works who keeps track of aircraft all over the Western world. There was a massive influx of C-130s and C-5As into the DC area. So, lots and lots of military aircraft flying into the DC area. Also, there was a lot of military aircraft flying into Nellis Air Force Base on the base on the border with California. And one of the friends of the Monkey Works guy said he works at that base, and they were unloading heavy equipment and soldiers. So there's a lot of troop movement all over. There's troop movement into every capital, National Guard moving into every capital because they're expecting trouble. Lots of stuff breaking. So Trump has a foot thick pile of declassified documents on his desk, and he's letting them out little by little. There's no doubt that the election was stolen. They have conclusive proof. The legal system here is just infiltrated to the max by, Chinese friggin' paid off scumbags. So Trump has exhausted virtually every legal option that he could have to move through the legal system, and they wouldn't even listen to the evidence. I mean, the hardcore evidence that they just blew it off. They refused to listen. Went up to the Supreme Court, and then Justice Roberts, who was on the Lolita Express over to Epstein Island, he was heard screaming through the walls that they would not take that case. So Sidney Powell has, under another classification of legal stuff, has put another 4 or 5 cases up before the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is fixed. There's no doubt that Roberts is he's being blackmailed, and no telling how many other Democrats on that court being blackmailed. What was funny is that the raid on the Capitol, it was spearheaded by Antifa. Those guys are being arrested right now. They've got a bunch of them, but along with the people who went into the Capitol and broke in there were Special Forces troops. Now, this came from General McEnany. He was speaking on YouTube, and he said Special Forces troops were in with the Antifa. They stole Nancy Pelosi's computer, and they stole the computers of 35 of her ilk. And on those computers, they found evidence that she was part of selling General Electric to the Chinese for billions of dollars. And it was on that computer. So she's wetting her pants trying to get Trump out of there as fast as she can, because she knows what was on that computer. So you look at what she's doing. She's going nuts, trying to impeach him, trying to get the 25th Amendment, saying that he's insane, to doing everything she possibly can to get him out of there, because she knows what's coming. If it wasn't anything, if she wasn't scared to death, she'd just let him run his term and just, okay, be gone. No, she's panicking. She is really panicking. There was a videotape of, this was 2 nights ago, a videotape of Washington, D.C. At 2:30 in the morning. There were a bunch of police cars there. There was a green light flashing on the Capitol, which I think it's some kind of military signal. And then later, somebody reported that there were several buses that were transporting something or somebody out of the Capitol that were escorted by military vehicles. So, I can't confirm the bus thing. The video of the Capitol was there. There were a lot of police cars around it. There was a lot of commotion. Now, the barrier that they put up around Capitol Hill, there's a double barrier. One is to keep people out. The other one is to keep people in. So the internal barrier is about 7-8 feet tall. All the doors open from the outside. The support is on the outside. The military, one military person said that is a containment area. That fence was built to keep people in, not keep people out. The outside perimeter fence was built to keep people out. Washington, D.C. is now completely closed down. Entry and exit only through military checkpoints, and they check every vehicle coming and going. So you got 25,000 troops there. Pelosi apparently is getting a little nervous, so she called a general in the Marine Corps in the Pentagon and demanded that he send Marines in to protect her and Pence. And he basically told her to screw herself, that he didn't work for her, he worked for the president. And then she started whining and almost begging him to do it. So she didn't trust the National Guard troops. So the National Guard troops and the Marine Corps and Special Forces are all under the direct command of Trump. They take their orders from him. Trump has treated the military very well. This has now turned into a military operation run by the military. And it looks like they'll be scooping these people up. So Trump has worked fervently to present to the American people what these scumbags have been doing. All the child molesting, all the drug trafficking, all the bribes, all the scandal. I mean, he's tried to do everything he could to get that information out to the American people. The mainstream media here are all controlled by the deep state. You can't believe anything they say. It's a constant stream of propaganda. Fox News was okay for a while, but now they've turned. There is no mainstream media over here that is trustable. CNN was involved with setting up that fiasco in the Capitol building the other day. There's evidence coming out that they've set up a lot of situations just for the news, so they could have something to talk about. All their readership has been dropping precipitously. Fox News is considered a traitor, and their subscribers have dropped to the point where they're worried about their existence. So about 68 million votes were stolen by Biden. These voting machines were developed by the Chinese. They were used in Venezuela. They were specifically designed to cheat on elections. They've been used all over the world. They've probably been used with you guys. They confiscated some of those. I don't know why Trump didn't confiscate them all. They were actually monitoring them while they were stealing the votes in Pennsylvania. They've got videotape of them stealing the votes. They got videotape of these guys running the same votes over and over and over again through the machines. There's a million ways they've cheated. The mail-in ballots. My son lives in California. He was mailed two ballots. In California, they actually had people on the streets that would register people to vote and then fill out their ballots for them. They had a ton, tens of thousands, maybe millions of ballots that were computer filled out by the Chinese, printed in China. Those were sent out. I mean, every possible way you could cheat, they did it, and they caught them all. So, but the courts are so corrupt, they wouldn't listen to any of this evidence. Trump went up through the state courts. He went up through the federal court. He went up to the Supreme Court, and they're all corrupt. They cannot be trusted. his only option right now is military. So he's using the military. He's got federal employees stabbing him back. He's got Citibank and Signal Bank have cut off his accounts. So you got you got the deep state banking system. The central banks are turning on him. It turns out that there's reports that Comey sold one of our top secret supercomputer software to the Chinese, something called the Hammer, and that they have been using that to fix the election and using it against us. That just came out today. I don't have it confirmed. Mainstream media are carrying accounts of migrant caravans that are paid for by China and what's his name, Soros. They're moving again. And these caravans, these are well organized, well funded. These people are well fed. They're being sent by train. They're being sent by bus. The media in the South American states are saying, yeah, you come to America and they'll let you in and you'll be American citizens and this is all the stuff you'll get. These caravans are being paid for. You know, these people are arriving in good shape. They don't look like people who've been traveling for thousands of miles. You know, they're coming in good shape. Before Trump closed off the border with that 450,000 or it's 450 mile wall, they were smuggling fentanyl in here. They were smuggling tons of methamphetamine in here. They were pushing small kids over the border. You know, Obama had this stupid catch and release program. So basically what he was doing, he would catch these people and he would not send them back. He would send them to democratic states where illegal aliens were allowed to vote. So another way to cheat on the election, and they were allowing illegal aliens to vote in a U.S. election. Trump warned about this. He tried to stop it. But the governors of some of these states, California, Michigan, Pennsylvania, what were the other ones there? Their governments are all paid off. You know, they're all paid off.
Yeah.
So
interesting, Jerry. That can you hear me, Jerry?
40% of the LA Fire Department refused to take those friggin'
Jerry, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear Mark?
You're breaking up again. Flip your switch a few more times.
Yeah. What I was going to ask Martin to ask you, Jerry, is there's a few people here who are very cynical about all this. Now I can hear you. Well, Martin will translate.
There are a few people here that are very cynical about this.
So what I'm saying actually to Jerry is that what we tend to get here is people make their own sweeping statements about the political ideas they have of what's going on in America, thinking it's all part of one big controlled circus.
Still can't hear you.
What is actually? It doesn't matter. We'll get this point over from Martin.
You'll have to tell me what he's saying.
Yes, he will do when I finish. So the thing is that you've got this section of the population that believes it's all part of one big controlled circus, which in a way is. But within that circus, there are different factions. Now, what I do see happening is that there's two sides, okay? So people can go, it's a big circus, but there are two sides to what's going on. And the extreme fake leftist side is the new totalitarianism. So in other words, if you're not part of that, then you're going to be demonized as being on the right. So from that point of view, it's a circus. But in reality, it's not a circus because there's a coup happening in the United States right now. There's a coup happening in the UK, a different type of coup. So I just thought maybe if you can ask Jerry to address these sort of points where people are saying, oh, Jerry, you're just buying into Q and stuff like that. Could we sort of address that and maybe back up that with a few more?
I couldn't hear anything you said. It was totally jumbled.
Yeah, I think you need to just take those points one at a time, Mark, rather than because that is way too much for me to remember.
Oh, right. I thought you might be able to
it looks like I'm losing Martin now, too.
Yes. Yeah, just one. I think the basic part of it is people just think that this is just two sides of one agenda is going on. Mark, you need to just make those points one at a time, and I'll relay them.
Yeah. I was really doing it for the sake of the people out
I
there
lost
as well.
Martin now too.
Yes. Oh dear.
Oh God. Okay. Well, we can sort of carry on until
You want
Jerry
me to keep?
can
Can you
hear
hear
us.
me? Can you hear me now?
No, your image is frozen and you're breaking up too.
Yeah,
You
we've
gotta
got
show someone that
severe
doesn't like us
bandwidth
doing
problems. Yeah, someone doesn't like us.
So yeah, I will just address the listener because there is something going on here, but I think it's almost a bit childish to start going on about this. Well, the two sides of the same thing, because there's clearly two sides. It's been polarized into two sides. So I don't think it's even important whether people believe that Trump is part of the deep state or not. It's about two sides. So what people believe that Trump is standing for is, in my view, quite important, apart from anything else. And it all goes back down to being able to think about this kind of seriously and with a little bit of detachment, because someone's just put in chat something really childish, that I believe in anarchy. Well, anarchy means self-government. But the point is that what the Republicans were trying to advocate generally was self-government. In other words, freedom of the individual and the support of the Constitution and people being uphold the Constitution. We've done shows with North Idaho Exposed, Casey Whalen, peoplesrights.org, and they are doing exactly what a lot of people on the left accuse Trump of. So the point is that it's all about ideology, but what we are having is our ideology given to us on a plate, whereas it's up to people to think about this. And everything is so polarized now that it doesn't matter whether it's COVID-19 or Trump. There are definitely two sides there. So people who say, oh, it's all big part of the conspiracy, and some idiot actually put in chat, oh, the Russians will love this. Well, that's the biggest decoy ever. British intelligence has been caught over and over again trying to demonize the Russians through things like the Integrity Initiative and all these organizations that are run basically by the intelligence services. So anything that's thrown at the Russians is like, well, yawn, 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 you know, that's ridiculous. It's almost like everyone blaming everything on the Chinese. Global governance is unstructured and works everywhere. And what we're talking about here is basically a war on the human race, which is taking away your inalienable rights. And these people on the fake left, these totalitarians, want to take away your inalienable rights, and they have no right to do that. So that's all I'm going to say on that matter, and maybe bring Jerry back in if you want to make a comment, Martin.
Yeah, well, the Russians are having their own problems. They haven't their entire cabinet resigned? Like governments all over Europe seem to be falling.
Yes. Now, that can be viewed as a victory for global governance, but also it shows something else. And I think all of this stuff has to be looked at fairly philosophically. And what do people actually want? What is it you want? And define what you want. And there's certain
want to be nannied.
Exactly. And the things that Trump has done and the things that he purports to stand for are the things that are actually going against the extreme fake far left, which is the New World Order, if you want to call it that. I call it global governance, unstructured under Agenda 2030. And of course, all the stuff we've talked about. So I think that the whole idea of kind of criticizing what's going on as some kind of Q conspiracy is, again, almost part of the government narrative. So that's all I want to say on that, Martin. What do you think about this?
I think the fact that there are so many troops means that something very, very serious is going on in America. This isn't just some conspiracy. This is the fact that the army is putting an enormous amount of effort into keeping control of a situation that could very well turn extremely sour, because things have been so polarized. You get because the mainstream media has programmed people to just hate Trump for illogical reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean Trump is some sort of saint, but to have people just programmed like an attack dog. If Trump does anything, they try and find a way to tear it down. It's just
I mean,
the way they're
me,
programmed.
Yeah, it's really about the way people think, and that is the most important thing. It's really about what you are about. That's all it is. So I object to change agents coming in, taking over things in a communistic type way, which is communitarian. And the way this is going means that I won't be able to drive. I won't be able to do what I want to do. They're going to shut down my channel. And at the end of the day, they're going to come looking for us all if we keep doing this. Well, I don't want to do that. I was born with inalienable rights, and those rights are not to be taken away, especially on the back of fakery and coercion and lies and this communitarian system, which gets everyone into the hive mind and then attacks anything that's outside it, because that is beyond a totalitarian system. It's a tyrannical system. So all these people who Jerry's been talking about, Pelosi and all the leftists, if you want to call them that, they are diabolical, treacherous people and utterly corrupt. So that is one way of looking at it. And the whole idea is that we're trying to take down the totalitarian system, which is United Nations Agenda 2030. I mean, this is the sort of stuff we've talked about for years, but I think maybe Jerry should have another go and give us any things that he wants to finish up on.
You can hit me on the chat. Ask a question on the chat. I can see the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got to communicate via the chat with Jerry because he seems to have lost bandwidth from us. So I can see him and I can hear him.
Both of you are freezing up at this point. I can't hear either one of your images are jerky.
You tell him we can hear him loud and clear, so it's definitely one directional, this problem.
Yeah, so something doesn't like us doing this.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got into chat now.
Yeah, we can hear you, Jerry. That's the main thing. That.
Yeah, we can hear you, Jerry. Yeah. Has he seen what's in chat?
Write me on the chat. I can see the chat.
I've just done it. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Can you see, Jerry? No, nothing happening there. Okay.
Yeah, they're really interfering with this stream, aren't they?
Well, something's
very
happening.
Strange problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So technology can fail in strange ways. Like when the police came to my door last night, I filmed the incident, and the just standard photo application on the phone, standard thing, taking videos. It usually works, but this time the the photo application just exited. No trace of the video. Very strange.
Yeah. I've just put a message in for Jerry.
Yeah, I can do that.
That's great. Brilliant.
Now, some of this stuff is hearsay, and some of it is more solid. One of the reports that came out was that Special Forces raided Biden's compound in the Ukraine. I can't verify this. I've only heard it once, and it was from a military guy. They said they found a ton of gold down there, and they found some decomposed bodies. The Insurrection Act was signed by Trump. That gives him the authority to use the armed forces to put down the insurrection. here's one. Harvard students are asking that the degrees, the college degrees from Harvard, be revoked if they work for the federal government. So you can tell how crazy it is getting over here. There's 2 reports that Epstein is still well alive. He's in Israel and he's squealing like a stuck pig is what the story was. Can't confirm that. Now they're paying $50,000 to the hospital for each COVID patient when they were paying $3,000 for each COVID patient. Now, I don't know where they're getting the money for this, but they were paying $3,000 for every COVID patient to the hospitals. So all of a sudden, every people who died from motorcycle accidents were COVID. Anybody with the flu disappeared, completely disappeared. All those guys were COVID. Now they've increased it from 3,000 to 50,000 and $135 if you take their bogus bullcrap COVID test. So somebody's being paid off big time for this. I don't know where they're getting the money. Maybe the Chinese, I don't know what, but that's a lot of money. So nurses are coming out of the ER saying they're murdering people, actually crying, going on YouTube, crying, saying they're murdering people. So it's interesting that 9 bishops died of COVID in the last week. Let me see, Space Force. That's very interesting. They say they're behind these power outages. In where was it? At the Vatican, there was a power outage. Pakistan, the report I got was that power outage went off in Pakistan because the Chinese were about to make that deal to buy General Electric, and that was interfered with. Can't confirm that, but I've heard several reports that the Space Force is behind these power outages, that they can cause them. And there's rumors that they have something called the TR-3B, which are anti-gravity flying saucer-like vehicles, and they've had them for quite a while. Let me see what else here. Trump is he's planning to release a whole lot more stuff, including videos of some of these sickening politicians who were sexually molesting, torturing, and then murdering these children. And I heard several reports saying that they videotaped all this, that they forced the whoever it was to shoot the kid, and they had videos of it. So something like that might be happening to Judge Roberts up there, where he can't go against what they're doing because he's blackmailed. So a lot of these politicians and all of them who have been to Epstein Island are all on videotape. They're all blackmailed. The Clintons, all those guys on the Lolita Express. The White House is being vacated right now. Mark Linwood has accused Biden, and now this Mark Linwood is a what do you call it? When somebody says something bad about you, and it's slander lawyer. So he's come out in public and he said Biden is a child molester. Mark Lindell tried to get he's a private corporation owner here. He spent millions of dollars doing the voting machine investigations on his own. He tried to get that information to Trump, and he was turned back by White House staffers. I don't know whether I said Signal Bank and Citibank have cut off Trump. So you got the deep state central banking system coming online there. Fauci has been implicated with this bullcrap virus crap under the control of the Chinese. This was funny. I don't know if I mentioned it before. General Perger, Pelosi went to General Perger asking that the Marines be used to protect her and Biden. And she didn't trust the National Guard that were surrounding the Capitol. And General Perger basically told her to go screw herself in so many words. said that he didn't work for her; he works for the president. Obama is linked to the violence at the Capitol. Let me see. Oh, this is interesting. Pelosi's chief of staff is the chief executive for Dominion ballot counting software. So right up the wazoo, man. Here, the chief of staff is an executive with Dominion. Jeez, how bad can it get?
Oh, dear.
It's like the legal system over here is shot. It is shot. It is corrupt. The Chinese have bought it off. What's his name? That other jerkweed, Soros. If that isn't a Soros dummy, funneling millions of dollars over here. He's paying for those caravans that are coming up here. The guns and the ammo over here are flying off the shelves. I heard there was 1 million guns sold just last year. You can't get any ammunition over here anymore. It flies off the shelf as soon as they put it up. Everybody here is armed to the teeth. I mean, I've got a STG 58 sitting there with 5 clips of ammunition in my assault rifle waiting at the door. They come doing that kind of shit around me, they're going to get some hot lead. What else we got here? I wish I could remember more. There's yeah, so it just keeps coming and coming. Let me see what else I can remember here. Most people over here in public, when they're walking in public, they're not using masks.
Good.
When they go into stores, it says on the door, you need a mask to enter. So I'll use a mask to enter, and then I'll take it off once I get in there and then make them throw me out. I haven't seen any arrests or anything like that, or the police harassing anybody for not wearing masks. They just won't let you into the store. And a lot of stores now are just kind of ignoring it. I've gone to several big stores. I went to Costco. I was in there for about an hour before one of their guys came up and told me I had to wear a mask, and I left. Yeah.
This is the solution.
I thought about there's one guy that had one of the regular masks, and it said something like, I hate this shit, written on the mask. So yeah, there's more and more stuff coming up every day. Now there's going to be more and more stuff released as there's mass release of Trump has declassified all the FISA stuff. He's declassified all this stuff that they wouldn't let out. There was another attempt made on his life not long ago, and that pissed him off. So now he has got eyeballs of steel, man. They're going to have to take him out to stop him. This is now a military operation. The courts are completely out of the picture. He's signed the Insurrection Act. He's got all the powers he needs. Even his advisors. So Sidney Powell and Giuliani are coming out of there going, his advisors are giving him bum advice. His federal legal staff are giving him bum advice. So he's friggin' surrounded, and he's just slugging it out. They've hit him from every direction they possibly could. And he's still just on course. I don't think they're going to win this. There's reports that there are 250,000 Chinese troops between Mexico and Canada. Now, I can't confirm that. I've heard it several times now. They were supposed to invade once Biden was seated. If he doesn't get seated, I think that is off. But I've heard several times that jerkweed Trudeau has allowed Chinese troops to practice winter exercises in Canada. You ought to send them up to Ladakh, where they're freezing their butts off there, and they're carrying them out in ambulances as they face out the Indian troops. So there's billions of dollars of Chinese money flowing in here. You got Bill Gates, that scumbag. He's using his money to buy thousands and thousands of acres of farmland.
Yeah.
It's crazy what's going on here.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at is
you're back.
The kind of whole.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Great. Oh,
it's the whole system of what I've been talking about for a long time. The decentralization. And of course, it's a global coup, and it's happening in different ways in different countries.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is the end of the UK, and in effect, it has to be the end of the United States as far as these people are concerned, but they have got resistance, and that's what we're seeing. So it doesn't necessarily matter if you believe that Trump's on one side or the other, but you have to look at anybody who gets demonized. Anybody who gets demonized by this system must be doing something right. Now, it doesn't mean
That's
they're doing
right.
everything right. It means they're doing something right.
Yeah,
and I
not to
will
annoy them.
say that because I have been absolutely demonized for putting out information which is not just factual, but it actually is in the real public interest and for the real common good.
They don't care.
So the point is that it's the same level of attack. So once you see that level of attack, then you know that it has no foundation and it is there merely to take you out.
Yes.
So that's what we're seeing. And I think that's just to clarify all this stuff where, oh, you believe Q, do you believe this? Well, Jerry's not saying that. What he's saying is what he's hearing, and not all of it is going to be absolutely 100% true, but we need to find out from the horse's mouth and from one of our regular and trusted contributors what is being said, because we're getting rather a skewed view in the UK. Now, there are people out there, one of them's been mentioned in chat tonight, who are disinfo, narcissistic liars who are putting all this stuff out as though Trump's going to save the world. Well, none of us here are saying that. And the people who are going on about this and putting out this complete misinformation and pretending that they have an inside person or inside information, these are just flat out liars. And these same people have been doing it for years, and they get hundreds of thousands of hits. But if you tell the truth as it really is, guess what? You get shut down and nobody listens. So I'm thankful for everybody who listens to the show, because the information that I've put out over the years, I will stand by 100%. And I've also been around and seen people who are putting out this nonsense year after year after year, and they get caught out time after time after time. I have emails from one of these people and, well, between one of these people and his victims, who's claiming to have an inside with the military and Trump and all the rest of it. This fantasist who lives in Devon or somewhere like that, who thinks his mother's a praying mantis alien. And he has loads of idiots following him. Now, what we do is not anything like that. People may say, I don't believe that, or I don't believe in Q, or I don't believe in this. What Jerry's putting out is a perspective of what's going on in the United States. Now, something big is happening. It doesn't mean that the good side is going to win, but it means that there is resistance, because if you've got an open coup and that many military, then something clearly is happening and something big is happening. But that means that the whole of the American population who've seen this know something big is happening. So it's going to ignite them in their actions as to how they're going to deal with it. Because if we had a silent coup, then nobody would know about it.
Well, the mainstream
and this
media
is not a silent coup.
The mainstream media over here isn't carrying any of this.
No.
They're doing exactly what you said, Mark. They put out all these lies. They're called on those lies, and it's shown that they're lies, and it doesn't matter. You know, they just go on and they put out more lies. You know, and you got, like, you know, half the population maybe that are, all they do, they come home dead tired from work. They got kids to feed. They got housework to do. They got all kind. They turn on the news. They watch the communist news network, CNN, and that they're brainwashed. They believe what they're being told. It's lie after lie after lie after lie, and they don't care. They just don't care. Even no matter how many times they're exposed, they just move on to new lies. Now, what I heard today is that if Trump pulls this off, they're all going to lose their broadcast license. They're all going to be put out of business.
Good. It certainly should be. It's just ridiculous. The point that Jerry makes about these caravans is also a problem for Europe as well, in that if your adversary is a civilized nation, then a very effective way of waging war against them is to use trafficked humans as weapons, not as soldiers, as weapons. In that it's a form of warfare to overload a country with people wanting welfare, don't have skills that can be used in the economy in that country, so are just a drain on it. And if you object to it, you're a racist. You're inhuman.
But also, Martin, that's what I was going to come on to. Yeah, you're just kind of preempting the point I was going to make, in that these people are used as human
they
shields.
don't like, you're a racist.
But these people are used as human shields. So, in other words, diversity is about
I lost you both
divide
again.
and rule. Okay, well, I'm just talking to the audience, Jerry, so it should be okay.
They don't like what we're saying here. I don't think.
Well, that's the way things
both
are.
Completely frozen.
Okay, well, I'll carry on for a minute. So what happened was that when I was doing my shows for the past 3 to 5 years, I was actually being shut down on most platforms over very little. And it keeps happening with our shows. So last week's show, which was WHO, World Health Organization, Stole the World, that was actually put down as being not community standards. And because it wasn't community standards, what they actually did was they restricted it as age restricted, which meant that anybody who wasn't signed in to YouTube, which means anyone who basically could comment, wasn't allowed to see it. So we do quite well, considering the fact that most of our recent videos have been hidden or kind of shut down. So I think that we're doing okay on here. I've tried these other platforms, and as I said at the beginning of the first show we did tonight, which is on Spreaker and YouTube, if you know of any other good platforms apart from BitChute, Brand YouTube, and what's the other one, Odyssey, which is part of Library, which I'm thinking of using, by the way, just recommend them and I'll have a go. I know there's Rumble and there's a few others. And Martin, if you've got any ideas, just email me, because I am looking to put it on other channels, but I'm finding that Brand YouTube is a complete waste of time. BitChute is problematic with uploading, and that takes time. So
they're going after BitChute. They're going after BitChute.
Yeah. Well, they go after everything. Yeah.
I'm using Library.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have a go on that then, Jerry.
One of the really big problems with YouTube is, of course, the shadow banning. If you use certain keywords in comments, other people can't see them. Like one I found is very prevalent is using the word scam in anything to do with COVID. Your comment will not get seen.
Well, you can't call it a scam. You've got to be cleverer than that. We're in a propaganda war, so we have to be clever with our information, and we have to have our own information department to work against the disinformation department. And that is being articulate and not using these sort of words, because they're quite lazy as well. Scam doesn't really mean that much. Let's have a look at the detail. What are we really talking about here? Let's have a look at the facts. And of course, facts get banned as well, so you really can't win on that score. But I think it's very important to define these things clearly as what they are. And that's really all I've got to say tonight, because I've been talking quite a lot over the last couple of days, and I don't like talking for the sake of it. So, Martin, can you tell us where to find your streams and what you're doing?
Right, I do a show twice a week. It's on, at the moment, it's on dlive.tv/WTFR, We Think 3D Radio. And it also goes out on the WBN 324 radio network. And that's at 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Tuesdays and Fridays. That's UK time. So whatever the time zone is in your part of the world, just make the adjustment. It's DLive may not be our permanent home, because DLive itself is having trouble with throwing people off, because it's rumored it was used for the planning of this Capitol insurrection. So they're having to do all the virtue signaling and getting rid of anyone that looks at all political, apart from the raging leftists.
Well, that's fine, Martin. I think we've got most of that. And Jerry, would you like to say anything in conclusion? Have you got any predictions for us?
Things are changing so fast. I think what you're going to find is the mainstream media isn't going to carry anything that is released and it is declassified. You're only going to get that through underground channels and through, shows like this. Very little is being carried on any mainstream media. They're completely against Trump. They won't carry anything that counters their movements. This is a full court press right now. And a message for you Brits. I mean, Mark showed me pictures of London at 4:30. Get off your butts and resist. Don't just sit there. You're going to lose your country. You already lost your freedom. Do something. Don't just sit there and put up with these numbskulls. Nobody's wearing masks outside here. Nobody's being locked down here. But we've got plenty of guns here too. You should have never let them take your guns. So, well,
that's what they wanted to do. That's what the whole thing has been about, disarming people, but not only of their guns, of their rights, their inalienable rights, which is why I'm very happy to have Casey Wayland, North Idaho Exposed, in the chat, because they are really doing something and they are having an effect. And that is the future. Small, real groups of people who are unstructured, working locally to form bigger groups. And of course, never let anybody take over, because that's what these people do. The change agents come in. The whole thing about the communitarian system is it envelops everything. So you might have to compromise one way or the other. Guess what? After that first compromise, you are being steered into the inevitable outcome where the narrative is controlled by the people who come in. So never compromise. You can't afford to, especially now, because it's a life and death situation. Martin, someone's asked me to put your links into chat. I don't know whether you can do it yourself.
Yes, I can do.
That would be marvelous. And Jerry's available at jerrymarzinski.com. We often talk about much deeper things and things which affect people on much different levels. But I would say that what we're up against is a manifestation of infiltration by negative entities. There is something extremely negative about what's going on. When we see these people in the street with masks and you're not wearing one, what we are starting to see is those people are starting to look resentful, and they are starting to look slightly possessed, if you ask me. Might be just the mask, but I'm starting to see more of it. It might be the oxygen deprivation. It might be because they're in the first stages of pneumonia.
Yeah, it could be either of those.
No, they're possessed.
Yeah, you need that. You need that. That won't give you any of these nasty lurgies. And you can get a message out.
Yes. I was going to conclude with some comedy, but maybe I should leave it for next time. We've been going an hour and 13 minutes, and I'd like to thank Jerry for his insights and Martin Houston for his insights, and keep annoying them, Martin. That's all I can say.
Well, I'm going to be annoying them with this in future.
Let me know how you get on at Tesco's, because every little helps.
Yes.
All right, then. Thanks, gentlemen. It was great. Hope people have enjoyed it. I might be doing more of this on a Sunday. We might do a shorter show on Spreaker, and do subscribe to us on Spreaker at windowsontheworld.net/live shows. Do have a look in the archive. If you can help us out on PayPal or Patreon, please do that, because we are in a chickpea shortage at Windows Towers. And who knows, one day we might be able to take over Trump Towers. So that's it from Windows on the World. Thanks to Jerry Marzinski and Martin Houston. Over and out, and see you all very soon. Do check the archive. Thanks and good night.
Right.